Hey Travis, I don't see Bob here. I noticed, I think he did sign up when I first sent out the notice last week, but he hasn't indicated whether he'll be here or not. Um,
No worries, I can share it. I'll be here the whole time. So I actually was just in the process of messaging you, so this is fine.
oh, great. Thanks.
Yep, no problem. So it is 2:30. I guess we can go ahead and get started. Um, so I guess we'll call this meeting to order for the Montachusett Joint Transportation Committee for Wednesday, August 13th at 2:30 p.m. We're going to start off with introductions. I'm just going to go, I guess, should I just go down the list of who I've got at the top of my screen and who can just introduce themselves in the organization?
Yep, that's what we've been doing.
All right, so I guess we'll start with you, Brian.
Yep, I'm Brian Doherty. I'm the Transportation Projects Director at Montachusett Regional Planning Commission.
Excellent. And George Snow.
Yes, I'm George Snow, Transportation Planner here at the MRPC.
I'm sorry, what was that again?
And Tyler Godin for the second time today.
Hi, I'm Tyler Godin. I am a principal planner at the Montachusett Regional Planning Commission.
I've got Grace Belmont next.
Hi, everyone. I'm Grace Belmont with the transportation team, one of the planners.
Then I've got Sherry Bean.
Hey, it's Sherry. I'm also with MRPC. I'm sensing a trend here.
And I think we have one more, Bernie Cahill.
Hi, Bernie Kale, also a principal planner at MRPC.
And now we're going to mix it up with Sarah Bradbury.
Hi, I'm Sarah Bradbury from MassDOT District 3.
Thank you. Janet Tice.
Hi there, Janet Tice, Shirley Planning Board.
Nicholas Erickson.
Hi, Nick Erickson, City of Fitchburg, Department of Public Works.
Brian Callahan.
Brian Callahan, Town of Groton, DPW.
Now I've got Sarah Canamella, and I apologize if that's incorrect.
Nope, you pronounced it correctly. Sarah Canamella, Mass DOT District 2 projects.
Thank you. And I've got Thomas Ruda.
Yes, good afternoon. This is Tom Ruda, also Mass DOT District 2 Assistant Projects Engineer. Thank you.
Thank you. And I've got Dick Kilhart. Dick, I don't know if you're trying to talk, but we can't hear you. So I guess we'll move on to, I've got Ian.
Yeah, hi, I'm Ian. I work with the Community Health Equity Partnership of North Central Mass, or CHNA9 for short.
Thank you. All right, so now that the introductions are done, we're going to move on to the public comments. Is there anyone in the meeting today that has any public comments? Now is the time that we'll entertain those. All right, seeing none, I think we can move on to the approval of the June 11th, 2025 minutes. I know those were all in the packets. Hopefully everybody had a chance to review those. Does anyone have any changes to those? And if not, we can go ahead and make a motion in a second to approve.
I move to approve. Janet Tice.
Thank you, Janet. Do we have a second?
Second, Nick Erickson.
Thank you both. All right, now we're going to move over to the MJTC officer nomination. Brian, do you want to talk about this or do you want me to?
I can talk about this. So per our bylaws, excuse me for a minute. I'm just emailing our next item presenter. Per our bylaws, we're nominating officers for the Joint Transportation Committee annually. We started this process in May by convening a nominating committee. You probably remember last time we met in June, we came up with a slate of officers. I should say the nominating committee came up with a slate of officers, which is also in the handouts here. So for chair, we have Robert Swartz from Gardner, vice chair Travis Condon, North Central Mass Chamber of Commerce, and Secretary Beth Faxon from Townsend. These are also the current officers of this group. In June, nobody else put their name into the hat. So first order of business within this new year is to vote on officers to serve the term of July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2026. So again, as we typically do, we can do this on a consensus vote. So we're looking for a motion and a second to endorse these officers to serve this term.
I make that motion to accept the slate as presented. Dick Gilhart, Ethel.
Second, Janet Tice, Shirley.
Thank you.
So past practice, we've assumed that's consensus of the group. So thank you to Bob, Travis, and Beth for volunteering, and look forward to the next year.
Thank you. Looking forward to working with this group again this year. Now we are going to move on to the Mass DOT LEAP program. And we've got a presentation I know we're going to include there as well.
Okay, so I have someone from Austin Transportation Planning to come do the presentation. I don't know if anyone from DOT has been kind of assigned that. I don't see Noah here, in other words. I'll send him an email to remind him.
Okay.
You know, I suppose
this then.
Yeah, maybe we can come back to this, and if we don't have anyone, I can go over the information. So if you'd like, we can skip forward to the Safe Streets for All.
Yeah, that works for me. All right, so
Okay,
we're gonna
great.
come back to that.
I'll
We'll
take
skip
this
to,
Safe Streets for All. Okay. So as many of you are aware, and some of you have been involved in this process throughout, we've been working on a Vision Zero action plan for the Montachusett region over the last year and a half. Finally, we're at the final stage of development. We have basically a full draft that's been reviewed. Staff and our consultant we brought on board. We're at the stage where we're comfortable putting out for public comment. So ultimately, what we're looking for from this group today is a recommendation to the Metropolitan Planning Organization to release this for public comment. What I'd like to do today is to basically go over the plan and ultimately what the plan does. So this stems from a grant that MRPC received in 2023 from Federal Highway Administration to create a Vision Zero action plan for the Montachusett region. This is through the Safe Streets for All program. Main premise of the Safe Streets for All program is to work towards a what's called Vision Zero. Basically, that's working towards zero fatalities or incapacitating injuries on our network of roads. Number of other communities also received grants within our region. I believe Fitchburg, Gardner, and Clinton. I do not believe they have their plans in place yet, but essentially what this does, once we do have this plan in place, is it qualifies all the projects that we identify for funding through this federal program. And this is above and beyond what we would typically see for federal investments in our region through the TIP per se. At the outset of all this, we engage a consultant to assist us through the process. That's WSP. You'll probably see their logo sprinkled throughout these slides. But I think that what I'll do is just go over basically a short detail analysis of each chapter to give you an idea of how we came to the conclusions that we came to. Basically, there's a lot of information in the plan. It's a large document, and for that reason, we're going to suggest a 45-day public comment period when the MPO does release it. I'll go over to give you kind of a flavor of what's in there. Chapter 1 is just an executive summary. We go into great detail explaining everything. Chapter 2, we get into some background on the Safe Streets program itself, what the purpose of it is, what we hope to accomplish. Chapter 3 is really just a synopsis of current research, best practices that inform kind of what decisions we make within the plan. It's more or less a literature review, which is important because we make a number of references throughout the plan. This is a heavily detailed document, so we rely on a lot of background references to back up some of our analysis. Another part of this is public outreach. So chapter 4 is essentially, that's the public outreach chapter. We detail exactly what we did. WSP, our consultant, a main focus of theirs has been the public outreach portion. We convened a Vision Zero Action Committee. Some of you have served on that committee. We just had our last meeting yesterday. We've been reviewing sort of our methodology as we built it throughout the process, throughout the last year and a half with this group. We held a number of public meetings throughout the process. We conducted a public survey. You may have seen our consultant WSP tabling at a number of events throughout the region last fall, including supermarkets, trying to get people to fill out the survey. A lot of you filled out the survey, so thanks for that. And then we get into the kind of the nuts and bolts to inform the plan. Chapter 5 gets into basically our crash analysis that we incorporated within. We looked at crashes going back 5 and 10-year periods on all our facilities. We looked at every type of crash trend you can think of. Some of those trends are listed here. Basically, what this is telling us is where crashes have occurred and where the problem areas are on the road network. From this, we ended up what we collectively call the high injury network, or HIN. And this is an effort to basically focus our attention to roadways that have proven crash problems. Chapter 6 is kind of a different approach to windowing out exactly where we should be focusing. This is taking kind of a predictive model. We use things like demographics and general geographic features of the roadway to try to determine where we think hazards may be. Even though they may not show up in the crash statistics, we know there are stretches of roads that just have not had either maybe they don't have a lot of average daily traffic or whatever the case, but they have not showed up in the crash statistics. So again, this is a predictive measure that we window out roadways to focus on. From this, we ended up with what we collectively call the high risk network. So we have the high injury network, which is determined by crashes, and the high risk network, which is a predictive measure. From those two networks, we go into chapter 7. We highlight those in details. We explain kind of how they mix and match together. We rank these based on the various measures that we have, which brings us to chapter 8. Basically, this further details the methodology. A lot of methodology goes into it. It's really a heavy focus on data to try to determine where to focus our countermeasures. Also in this chapter, we go into some of the Federal Highway Administration's proven safety countermeasures. Really, the intent of this program is to come up with low-cost solutions at these locations. We're looking for a large cost-benefit analysis, which brings us to chapter 9. We're required to rank these in order as part of this program. So we have chosen to pursue a cost-benefit analysis of these locations. Essentially, the point of this is to attempt to achieve the largest safety benefit per dollar cost of projects that we're recommending. We blend the two networks, high risk and high injury. We come up with some countermeasures. We go into the methodology in this chapter. So we ultimately end up with a list of projects that will be qualified for money through this program. Additional to the physical improvements we're recommending in chapter 10, there's also a policy piece of this. Again, The intent of this is to work towards 0 fatalities and incapacitating injuries. So if you remember back in February, the NPO adopted a Vision Zero policy statement. Essentially, what we're aiming for is a 70% reduction in fatalities and incapacitating injuries. We felt like that was more realistic. Also, we're committing to carrying some of the data analysis that we created throughout this process into some of our long-range planning obligations at the Metropolitan Planning Organization, like the Regional Transportation Plan and other things. In other words, we'll be following these metrics to determine if we're trending towards the goals that we set within this plan. Probably the most interesting piece to everyone here are the prioritized projects list. These are what are qualified for Safe Streets for All money. Again, this is above and beyond what we would typically see for federal investments for our region. By virtue of having this plan, all these projects will be qualified. Unfortunately, this particular program, not every single road is qualified for funding on it. So it's really meant for like local jurisdiction roads. Throughout our analysis and identification of the high injury and high risk networks, there were a number of state-owned facilities that we identified. Those aren't eligible for shovel in the dirt improvements. So unfortunately, we didn't make those in those cases, but they are eligible for what's called road safety audits. So they could access money to basically conduct additional analysis that would hopefully end up with some countermeasures to improve the safety of those facilities. The capital improvements are basically the town-owned facilities that are now qualified for our recommendations that we go into. I mentioned the rankings that we're required to have in this program. One disclaimer is we want to make sure that communities know that whether your project is ranked first in the region or last in the region in terms of cost benefit, it still has the same importance. It still qualifies just as much as any other project through this program. So we're really trying to encourage people to pursue these funds. One more bit before we get into the actual projects. The cost benefit analysis that we used, it's listed in great detail within the actual draft report. Essentially, what we did is we took the capital costs of the projects that we're suggesting, and we divided them by the estimated benefit costs of the effects of such an improvement. So we used a number of Federal Highway Administration tools that basically predict the cost value of particular crashes. In other words, an injury crash has an average cost value that the inputs to that are police details, insurance claims, property damage, damage to the roadway. The same thing with fatal crashes and non-fatal crashes. So we utilized our cost estimate for the projects that we're selecting and tried to determine the level of reduction of crashes to come up with a cost benefit. Again, I'm not doing the methodology justice. It is very interesting, actually. It's spelled out in the plan, which is great. Here are the road safety audits that we're suggesting. Again, these are on state-owned facilities. I won't go over these in details, but basically, this plan would qualify these projects for federal funds to fund these road safety audits with the hope of down the line making some improvements. The capital projects, we have over 50 identified throughout the region. These are on town-owned facilities. They are listed in order from our cost benefit analysis, but they're all the same amount of qualified for funds. I can take the first one, for example, to show you kind of what we show in this list. Our highest ranked project in terms of cost benefit is in Townsend, Wallace Hill Road, Townsend Hill Road, and Highland Street, which is an intersection. We recommend speed feedback signs, wet retroflective pavement markings, application of low-cost safety countermeasures at the stop-controlled intersections. We come up with a cost-benefit analysis of 171. The way we came up with that cost benefit analysis is we took the estimated capital cost of those particular improvements. In this case, that was $100,000, and applied the assumed benefit of the reduction of crashes that we're assuming, which over a 20-year lifespan is $17 million at this location. This is quite a big cost benefit ratio. And it runs the gamut, really. These are all basically low cost type of fixes. You can see they kind of range from 25,000 to 500,000. We made sure every community in our region was listed somewhere on here. A large part of our public engagement effort in the spring was to directly solicit municipal officials. We didn't want to just rely on the data analysis to come up with these. We wanted to, we know every community has their own feelings on their own facilities. So an attempt to really kind of cater to their needs in kind of the local context, we solicited their feedback throughout the spring. We met individually with each community. We had a number of public meetings. We actually presented this list a few months ago. It's been available. So at this point, this is what we ended up with. This will be in the draft plan, and all these projects will be qualified for funding under this program if the plan is endorsed. There's over 50 of them. So with that being said, this is our safety action plan, the large document. We'd like to send it off for public comment. I'd also like to mention that MRPC's role will change a bit when this document is endorsed and all these projects are qualified. MRPC or the NPO, we don't have jurisdiction on these roadways, so we cannot apply for funds on these roads. So it's up to the communities. One thing that we are kind of in tune with are federal highway funding opportunities. So under the Safe Streets for All program, the next time they issue a funding notice, we will make sure to spell out exactly what communities need to achieve one of these projects. And in the long run, we'll be developing some of these trends and measuring our progress towards our commitment to Vision Zero. With that being said, we basically have the full draft done right now. We'd like to make a recommendation to the NPO to release this for a public comment period at their meeting next week. That'll be available likely at the end of August on our website. We'll make sure we get that information to everyone so everyone has a chance to review the plan. Likely we'll open that up for a 45-day comment period, come back at the October meeting in the NPO and officially endorse this plan and have all these projects qualify for these funds. So that in a nutshell is what we have for a draft plan. Again, we'd like a recommendation from the JTC to the NPO to release.
Thank you. I appreciate the presentation. Very thorough, and I actually got to sit through the presentation yesterday on this. It's been an interesting process, a very thorough process. There's a lot of work went into this plan. Does anybody want to make a motion and a second to send this to the NPO? Anybody have any questions?
I'll make a motion, Brian Callahan.
Thank you, Brian.
I'll second that motion, Dick Killhart out though.
Thank you. All right, so we can take by unanimous consent at that point.
Great.
So
Yeah, I
we'll send this off
appreciate it.
to the-
Yep. And we'll make sure that when it is released, we'll, JTC members are on the mailing list. They'll get a chance to review it. And as I mentioned, once it's endorsed, we'll follow up with communities the next funding opportunity. So we'll make sure we put people in a position to access these funds. So thank you all.
Now, do you want to go on to the contract status reports, or do you want to jump back to that LEAP program?
So I see Derek Cravat here.
Yeah. Hey, Brian. Yeah. Sorry I'm late, but yeah, happy to go through LEAP. if that's
Perfect.
helpful.
Great, great. Yeah. Would you like me to share anything, or do you want control of the screen?
Yeah, so I have the presentation if you want me to share.
Great.
I can definitely do that. I think I just need the access, but once I get that, I'll definitely walk through it.
Okay.
Perfect. All right, I will go ahead and present then. Sharing this here. Make sure it's in full screen mode. All right. Well, yeah, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Derek Cravat. I work in MassDOT's Office of Transportation Planning, or a new team. I manage a new team called Municipal Planning and Support. So we were put in place by our leadership to kind of be a more dedicated team that assists directly with municipal priority projects in MassDOT. So, that looks like, connecting folks with new funding opportunities, providing technical assistance, and kind of just generally coordinating efforts within MassDOT and other agencies where necessary. But part of the way we're structuring our work is through this new program that we're calling LEAP, which stands for Local Early and Actionable Planning. And we're setting it up in such a way that we're procuring consultant support. So we'll get 2 MassDOT pre-qualified architectural and engineering firms on call under contract within our office and MassDOT OTP. And municipalities will be able to request services from these firms kind of on their behalf. So, we'll be able to perform kind of things that get projects off the ground, things like conceptual planning, early stage design efforts to kind of bridge planning to actually getting into project development. So just in terms of scale, to be very clear, the sort of program is in its first year right now, so we're starting off kind of small. We have $1 million available statewide for all requests, and so that looks like kind of between $25,000 to $100,000 per project / planning effort. So it might not fund a full scale design for, say, a tipped project, but it might be enough to cover, say, like a design for a $500,000 complete streets project, with that being the construction cost. So I'll get more into specific activities, but that's kind of the scale that we're at right now. And we've set up a request form that's linked here in our, this is also on MassDOT's Grant Central site that you can review our guidance on as well. But the way this will kind of flow is that municipalities will submit requests to MassDOT. We'll establish a review committee that will take a look at all those requests. And I just want to emphasize here that all of the regional planning agencies will be on our review committee. So, Brian and the team at MRPC, any requests that we get from member communities here will certainly be coordinated with the MRPC to make sure, right, we're not taking work that might be better suited for the RPA, because there is definitely some overlap there. But if we do decide that this is best suited for our program for LEAP support with our consultant teams, we'll then scope those out further, and we'll assign the consultant team to kind of work with the municipality to deliver the work requested. And if it's not something that we feel like we can fund, or it might be outside the scope or scale of our program, we'll offer some alternative paths for kind of completing the project that you submit. But just in terms of more specific kind of eligible activities, things like developing conceptual designs, alternatives analyses, right? We often see scenarios at the MassDOT project review committee where there might be a project that is definitely a need. It's high crash location, say, or maybe prone to flooding, but it's unclear what the appropriate intervention might be before it's officially initiated with MassDOT. So this can help kind of identify what the scope should be kind of upfront. So things like that for concept development. I mentioned Complete Streets engineering and design earlier. Right now, MassDOT's Complete Streets program does not offer engineering and design services, so this is something that our consultant teams will be well versed in and able to help with, and might be more in the scale of what they can do. So, if it's design and engineering for a smaller cost construction project, that's something that can be covered here. And then a few other things like, a safe streets network strategy. I know, Brian just presented on the regional safety plan, right? That's, I think probably an area where there could be some overlap. But if there's maybe a need for a deeper dive into like prioritizing, locations that need safety improvements in a community, that's something we could do. We linked here this Safe Streets for People playbook that the city of Lynn had done a few years back, and we thought that was a good example of something that our teams could do in other communities as well, where there are federal grant opportunities, right? Which, elephant in the room, right? There's not as many as there were a couple of years ago, but if there's, opportunities for federal grants to go after, we can definitely assist with compiling federal grant applications or benefit cost analyses that could support them, right? Things that are sometimes, out of sort of maybe require more capacity or technical expertise. And then things that kind of get more in the weeds with project development, like safety analysis, traffic analysis, right? If there's like, a need for crash diagrams or traffic impacts assessments, site investigation and data collection. And these next, these ones on here are kind of more like in the weeds specific kind of design activities that get things off the ground. So I won't go through line by line just in the interest of time, but you can kind of get a flavor for what we're offering here. And again, we'll be working closely with the RPAs as part of this, and just want to emphasize the real goal here is to kind of provide support for communities that might not have the resources in-house to do those projects or get these, do these kinds of things that get projects off the ground. So thinking like rural communities and gateway cities or communities that have similarities, right? It's not like if you're not a designated rural or gateway city, you're not eligible. It's just that, that's kind of our direction we're going in, is to really grow the amount of, projects that can be done because of this program. So we'll be looking at, municipal capacity, which we have some questions on in our forum, and then what the kind of path might be for implementation after we provide this support. So here's what the form, just some screenshots from our request form kind of look like, just asking you to just generally provide the project description, if there's anything, already documented with respect to data, or if it appears in some kind of planning document, to attach that. We're looking to keep this pretty simple. This is not something that we want to be a heavy lift. Again, just asking for maybe what the thought is for a long-term funding source, if it's something that's meant to be funded locally through, say, the TIP, Montachusett TIP, or a state program like MassWorks Complete Streets, or a federal grant. I'm just trying to get a sense of that. If the project's been submitted for project review committee consideration through the district office, and then again, what sort of items might be in mind for long-term implementation, and if there is a known kind of ballpark budget in mind for the work that you'd be submitting under this, that's something we'd like to know as well. So we're doing a lot of outreach just to get the word out on this. We've presented at a few other JTCs and MPO meetings, and we'll be doing more. We've got more than what's on here too. I think this might be a little out of date for now, but we're trying to just meet with folks and get the word out. And at the same time, we're also building a little bit of an inventory internally to look at what some candidates might be. And actually the Vision Zero plan, and Brian, the safety action plan you just shared is a great source of information for this. Like if there's, a project location or a recommendation in that plan that might warrant, some additional design work or initial design work to get it off the ground and take it from, a recommendation in that safety plan to, transition it into, project development, right? That's something we think that this program is well suited to do. To kind of just get projects off the ground and kind of moving through, the project development process. So we're doing that scan and kind of looking at locations and might be approaching communities individually as well. And our staff is kind of broken up regionally. So, Noah Harper is the planner on our team, kind of assigned to the Montachusett region and Central Mass and kind of North Shore regions. He's out of office this week, but will be friendly face at JTC and MPO meetings going forward as well. And then we've got our team again assigned to regionally for the rest of the state. So yeah, that's the last slide, but I'll turn it back to you, Travis, and happy to take any questions.
Excellent, thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Derek?
I did have one brief question. Hi, Bernie Cahill. I think you kind of answered this, Derek, but so a town actually approached me today about the LEAP program. They are not a rural community, nor a gateway. They do have some EJ neighborhoods. They're not a city. They are just kind of a town that's just a little too compact and dense, I think, to qualify as rural. Anyway, my question was, they are surrounded on all sides by rural communities, farming towns, what have you. Would that still be weighted in their favor, like in that application? Should they just say, look, I was talking to them and I was saying, like, look, you kind of act as their downtown and their kind of commercial zone, like by de facto, like, so you are very important to these rural communities around you. Like, will that get some weight in that argument? Like, is that something that you'd consider, or not you, but MassDOT would consider?
Yes, yeah, absolutely, yeah. So in our guidance document, which is linked on the webpage, which I'll post in the chat as well, there's a kind of rubric that we have published, and there's a category for that, and it's like, I think 1 through 4 or 0 through 4. But in that category of like rural or like community designation, it's like a wide box. So it shows like if there are characteristics that are similar to, a rural or gateway city, right, that'll work in a community's favor. So it's not like black and white, like it has to be this designation or it's not eligible or it's going to be like, viewed unfavorably. We definitely want to be mindful of that because we don't want to, dismiss or kind of underscore or score projects lower than they should be based on the characteristics. So yeah, certainly we'll factor that in and try to account for that in our process as well. So
great.
Yep.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
And are there any other questions? All right, well, Derek, thank you so much. It was a very detailed presentation. We appreciate you taking the time today.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe we're going to move on to the next item on the agenda, item number 7. That's the contract status reports.
I don't see anyone from Bart here, who usually does the RTA update, but I can give an update on the 3C portion. This is in relation to our Unified Planning Work Program, a program that follows the federal fiscal year. So we're ending that. The end of our fiscal year is September 30th. So we're wrapping up all the projects we've been working on this year. We plan on having those final projects out to the appropriate people and on our website as well. We'll also, at the right opportunity, we'll provide some project presentations to this group in the future. So that's kind of where we're at right now in this stage of the year. Happy to answer any questions at any time on any of these. You can see our UPWP on our website. We've gone over this in detail. We developed the federal fiscal year 26 plan in the spring, if you remember. But that's about it for now.
Excellent. Well, thank you. And by the way, if you are looking for the documents from the last presentation, Derek has posted links in the chat for the guidance document and the webpage for the LEAP program. So again, if you are looking for those, they are in the chat. Next up is the administrative matters for the next MJTC meeting and the proposed schedule throughout the end of the calendar year.
Okay, so when we met in June, typically when we fulfill our MPO obligations of federal requirements and all the documents we put together in the spring, we try to go every other month, which why we didn't meet in July. Doesn't look like there's any major tip actions to review or anything else for that matter. During next month's meeting, we'll be within the comment period for the Safe Streets for All Safety Action Plan. So I would recommend tentatively taking September off and meeting next October 8th.
Perfect. Do any members of the group have any questions or comments? All right, so I think October 8th works.
Great.
Excellent. So I guess now, does anyone want to make a move to adjourn? I guess I'll make that motion.
I make a motion to adjourn for a second.
Perfect. Thank you. All right, so we are all set. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.